wow, do we have the family of champions here today? We have Pittsburgh Steelers, John and Craig. John, a 4-time Super Bowl champion and a veteran for 13 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We also have Craig, who is a 12-year veteran of the Pittsburgh Steelers and also 2 years with the Minnesota Vikings. And I would say both of them are seriously competitors. Why do I say that? Well, look at them today. As they retired, they are in such great shape. It puts me to shame. So I want to just say thank you for coming and being with us today. This is so special that I'm going to talk to them first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology. Of course, we're talking about X39, our stem cell activation patch, and we're going to talk a little bit right now to both of these guys. John, let's start with you. How did you learn about X39 and from who? And, what was life like before? And why did you actually start deciding to try it? And what's been happening to you now and maybe even to some of your patients?
Well, I was a lot like your guest a few days ago that I watched, Dr. Don, and my wife was involved in this. And I really enjoyed watching him because what he was talking about really paralleled my experience. When I was going to grad school and I had to do a thesis, and you couldn't just make a statement. It had to be peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo studies, and so I kind of got I kind of like bought into that. And there is a lot of there are, I guess I should say, a lot of things that we can try, and so many of them are how do you know this is even worth trying? And so you hear some buzzwords while like this is a clinical study, and then they stop. Well, what's that tell you? They did it in a clinic doesn't mean that they had any kind of peer-reviewed, double-blind. They can negotiate the outcomes that they want to get. So as I was listening to Dr. Don, I guess it was a week ago, I paralleled a lot like from him because my wife started watching this and was telling me about it, and I'm going, I don't know. I want to know. I want to know how it works. I want to know the ifs and the then. If this is so, then what's the outcome, and the how and the why. And so I started investigating it, just like he was talking about the other day.
And so what did you find out when you investigated it? What made you decide you wanted to put it on your body, John?
Well, Craig can tell you, you talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to stay very long, you have to become a collision expert. And so, after so I tell people typically, Pittsburgh Steelers, we had 3 games a week in one practice. We had a game on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday against Ernie Holmes, Joe Green, Dwight White, L.C. Greenwood. And then I would have a practice on Sunday, maybe against the New York Jets or the Cleveland Browns. But it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those games were, because Chuck Noll, our coach, he wasn't let's put some shorts and shoulder pads out and go out and practice. I mean, they were, as Craig can tell you, they were physical practices. So the result of that, of doing that year after year, takes its toll. And so, movement into your later years, and movement is the key of life. One of the things, again, I appreciated the other night about what Dr. Don was talking about. He kept several times talking about one of my favorite verses, "We are fearfully and wonderfully made." And there's another one, and there's another doctor, his name was Luke, and he wrote a book called Acts. And he says, in him we live, we move, and we exist. So what happens when we take movement out of life? When we take movement out of life, we stop living and we stop existing. And so many people that's where they're at in life. And so when you have something like the patches and for example, the X39, and he did a great job of talking about that, gives people the opportunity. I call it the window to move. So as you're starting to feel better, then you need to take that window and move, because then some other things can happen as a result of that.
I love that. So when you were with the Pittsburgh Steelers, what position did you play again, John?
I played next to Craig because when we started out, he didn't know the plays and I had to tell him. But then after 13 years, I'd been there so long I couldn't remember him, and he had to tell me. So we worked it out pretty well. I played left tackle and he played left guard. So that's what's more on the wrong side right now.
You got a
commercial and we'll switch. So
I love that. So you helped each other,
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing. And you said that you just were, what did you say? One collision after another. You had to learn how to hit and take hits, and that's football. And you did that for 12, 13 years. So that must have done some damage to the movement you're talking about. So for yourself, when you put the patch on, I'm not sure even how long you've been on the patch, but what did you see from the damage that maybe happened all those years in football, and where you are today, and kind of what the patches has done to get you moving again?
So one of the things that, again, I really appreciated from watching your programs in the past is that some of the patches I think are designed to help with inflammation. Others are designed to help with the pain. So if you have years of collisions and your cervical spine particularly takes a big hit, and the discs that separate, you've got the vertebrae, and then in between that you have little, and they start out, they're kind of like potatoes that are sliced, but by the time you finished up, they're more like potato chips. They're thin and they're more fragile.
Yeah.
And so, and I also think of it kind of as a pirate ship. I used to like to watch pirate movies, and you've got the big mast and the ropes that hold it together, and the pirates would shoot the cannons and they'd knock the mast down. Okay, but if you got some ropes to hold it up, then you can still keep the boat floating. And so you've got the spinal cord, but you've got to keep the muscles and the tendons and ligaments strong to help hold things up. But again, to me, it comes down to the basic of you got to move. But if it hurts to move, now we're in a problem. I can't move because it hurts to move, so I don't move, and then it hurts more. And so how do I get out of the cycle? So I would say to your listeners that, and I call it, when I think of the patches, I call it a window of freedom.
Oh.
Okay, because it hurts to move, so I don't move. But when I start the patch process, then as it starts to work, then you're going to feel better. To me, is very critical. So take advantage of that window of freedom to start moving and start getting the pirate muscle, the boat, the ropes and stuff. So getting them healthy again.
I love that. So I get that. So the X39, because of the way that when you elevate GHK copper peptide, you activate those stem cells to work with those little baby stem cells, to work like they did when we were young, like when you were getting hit, John.
Yeah.
So now you put that stem cell patch on, and all of a sudden those little baby stem cells are working again, repairing that spine, putting that sail back together. I think that the structure back together. And then I love this. Now I have my window of freedom. Now I don't hurt. So I move. And so I move more. And what did you say? Movement is life, and life allows you to exist. And so X39, this is the first time I've ever heard this before. X39 takes pain away, so we move again. So we don't sit in pain. My mother has a bad hip, and she has many symptoms of many strokes. And so I'm patching her because she can't get a hip replacement. And I'm trying to get her out of the chair, to be honest with you, John, because my mom can't move. She can only sit because she hurts. I mean, that is such a truth right here. Wow.
Right. And we have built into us, we have things called neurotransmitters, which are they carry out the signaling. And then we have things called neurotropins that are essentially the, I would say, the infrastructure of your spine. And so when that sits, you develop potholes, that whole region, and those potholes are called ruptured discs, and so we if when we move, we begin to heal that process.
I love that. I love the X39 is getting ready for this, getting rid of the potholes
Right.
in your back, in your spine. I can actually see it all coming together, you know?
Well, we're lining, so you can't get too complicated. So we kind of like the potholes and
I love that.
stuff like that.
The discs in between the spine are the potholes, and we're just fixing all the potholes. So I have a question, speaking of your clinic, because I know you and your wife are a nonprofit, and what you do is you help in the area of helping people get rid of the potholes, bones, joints, muscles, nerves. In addition, you do this for veterans and for first responders. So in clinic, I know this is a big word. He's also a master's in kinesiology. I think I said that right. And so big word is he does all of this bones, joint, muscle, and nerves to help people. And so do you have any examples of maybe one or two patients that you've helped using the patches and what's happened with them?
I really do appreciate that question. So I'll try to. So many of our veterans today, we can think of their physical problems, but there's a word, and I don't like the word. It's called PTS, post-traumatic stress, and then we put a D on it. So we say post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, if you have I have veterans with bullet holes in their head, they don't say he's got a disorder. But I have another veteran, he was blown up in Beirut, Lebanon, and his friends were killed there. 423 Marines were killed, and he has PTSD disorder, suggesting that anybody else, he should be fine because there's no scars. And so how do soldiers recover from that? Guess what? Movement. You got an option. You can take drugs, but there's another option. And if I don't know how much time you got, because I can go into that, but your body produces, there's a lot of biomarkers, and they have funny names: brain-derived neurotropic factor. I can't work a cell phone, but I can name you all this stuff. Body produces when you move. But now what if it hurts to move? Then you don't move. And so the thing I'm now thankful for the opportunity to talk with you tonight, is because it's not just about physical pain. It's movement creates the life in the brain again, because it produces these biomarkers that people that are dealing with PTSD, depression, anxiety are suffering with, that have come back from the combat area. And so it's a lot broader than maybe we look at it from the
this is beautiful to me. I have learned something today, John, because I have never really put that together, that movement helps you mentally and physically, and not just little mental and physical, but for PTS, post-traumatic stress. Maybe skip the D because it's just PTS. I get that. And that really movement helps with mental and physical. But when you hurt to move, then both physical and mental go down. And I get that the movement does all the chemicals to help. And I also understand that X39, because it activates those little baby stem cells, are going to repair the body so it doesn't hurt to move. So we move it. Wow.
So you take a downward cycle, a downward spinning cycle, and not only stop it, but you're able to get the thing cycling back up.
John, thank you for that. And I've learned so much today. I'm going to move to Craig now, but I think we all got this. That X39 takes the pain away from movement, and movement is where it's at to live, to exist, for mental stability and physical stability. And John, I've never really looked at it quite that way. So I think people are loving this. They're like, oh my gosh, it's movement. It's movement. No pain. We move. So thank you. So, oh, and everybody wants to know the name of your nonprofit.
Thank you. Ventures in Training with a Purpose. Venture means I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm training to go have a purpose in life, not sit, but have a purpose. So once a month, my son works with us, and he takes people and they may climb Mount Kilimanjaro, they may do the Grand Canyon, or we may just take a rock climbing trip or a kayaking trip in Western Pennsylvania or West Virginia.
That's a wonderful. And if you could say that one more time, and Linda, if I could have you put that in chat. I know people, oh, looks like we got it. Venture in Training Purpose or with Purpose?
With a purpose.
Venture in Training with a Purpose. Did I get that right? Could somebody put that in correctly? Venture in Training with a Purpose. Heidi, Robin, or Linda. Thank you. In case people want to check that out. Craig, now, obviously you guys are really good friends, and you were buddies on the field, and you've been with the NFL for 12 years, Pittsburgh, and then 2 years with the Vikings. And then in addition, you are an announcer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you're right in the game still. And then of course your brother announcing with the Arizona Cardinals, and your wife, a champion MMA fighter. I mean, that's amazing. So tell me a little bit about your story, Craig, and what's happened in your life and why. I'm not even sure if John shared it with you or you shared it with John. Why are you having the patch on your body, and what's been happening to you? Yes.
It started. Let me just say this. He's living proof of what he's talking about, movement. In his 70s, he's hiked to Kilimanjaro. You've been there a couple of times, have you not? He's hiked all the way up there. He's also hiked from top to bottom the Grand Canyon. People in their 70s don't normally do that. But when you have movement, this is what happens. And now he's kind of psycho because he's got me going on the Grand Canyon trip and everything. But I refuse to go up Kilimanjaro. There's no donut shops at the top.
Oh, you're funny.
But anyway, I would say I first heard about the patches from John and Deborah. And my wife started to talk to me about it, so I started to read about it. And I started in October of 23, and I spent a lot of time reading about it. After I read about it, I believed the science, and I started using the patches. And I believe the science, and I use the patches because the dadgum things work. They just flat out work. And for guys like John and I, this is important because, again, we came from the medieval era of the NFL. When John talks about 3 padded practices a week, he's not kidding. We've played games that were easier than the practices. So the point being is our body takes a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage points that are rolled up between John's 14 years and 13 years and my 12 years. So we've got a quarter century between us and NFL years. And like, as the saying goes, NFL years are kind of like dog years. I mean, they extract a lot out of the body,
That's
so
funny. 1%.
bring back some of that lost vitality you want. And so where it started for me was about a couple months after I started using the patches. I had a knee replacement 5 years ago. And I just happened to notice that scar that it was always there on my knee, which I was always a little bit sensitive about. So I would rarely wear shorts. It started to fade, and it started to fade more and more. Well, if the scar is fading after it's fully healed and it's healing from the inside out, what else is going on? Well, you also think to the time period that we played, you get on anti-inflammatories when you go to training camp, you're on it for the whole season long. There's internal damage that you do to yourself. And so I believe in my mind that, those stem cells are going where God puts them. And wherever there's damage points in the body, that's where they go. And I truly believe that that's what John and I have been able to enjoy, is a little resurgence of that vitality that was lost through many years of hard-hitting football, And so that's why I use them, because I see the results.
This is a crazy question, but what years were you guys playing? Were you guys in the 70s? Is that when you were playing, or the
He was
80s?
in the 70s. Like I said, he was a 4-time Super Bowl champion. I'm Zippo. I led the Steelers into the decade of decline when I came in 1980.
You're funny. I mean, that is so true though, that, that what?
But I led the Steelers into a decade of decline. Yeah, you're right.
No, that wasn't funny. I was going back to the dog years. Not that you let it into decline. You are funny. But that really, like, the hitting, when you said practice was harder than the games, and forgive me, but you said 3 padded practice. What's that mean? Like you only can wear 1 pad on your body, or what?
3 fully Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You're in full pads.
Full pad.
In today's NFL, you can only be in full pads 13 times. We did that in the first month of the season.
Oh, stop it. I didn't know the rules from.
So they're not able to put pads on all the time. They can only have a maximum of 13 padded practices throughout the course of the season. And as I said, we did that in less than a month.
Is that because, and forgive me for not being as educated as I should be, but is that because full pads is so heavy and it's so much wear and tear on the body?
It's the impact, the ballistic impact that occurs when you got full-grown men, 300 pounds, smashing into each other time and time again.
Oh,
it's kind of like running into parked cars.
So they don't wear the pads so they don't hit each other so hard during practice. Is that right? Did I just get that?
Yeah, that's it. So they don't get hit. So it's a different NFL now. They're trying to make it more, more favorable to good health. All right. We come from an era that they weren't so worried about the health then.
So what's the difference for you guys later in life now because of that? Do you think you have a lot more problems than like the guys that are coming out now? Like what's really happened to? I guess you were telling me, John, about the spine and about the knee replacement. I mean, I know my friend Ivory Sully, he has problems with concussions or the brain kind of wobbly stuff because he got hit so much. Like what's really happening because of that for the guys in your generation?
Well, first off, I can't give directions because my fingers don't. My fingers,
they're mangled.
Just starting with your fingers. I can't smell anymore because your nose gets
broken a little
bit. And I am, but the great thing about it for me, I'm very, very thankful. From my waist down, I'm in good shape.
Yes.
My knees are I have no knee pain, which is very unusual for as long as I got to play. Now I make up for it because, and this is one of the things I'll share with you about the patches. I was really concerned driving because if I pull out prior to the patches, if I pull out on an interstate, I've either got to get my mirror set so I can see oncoming traffic. So can I get in this lane because I can't turn my head? And so now, if you're driving a truck, you got a big mirror, but my little pickup doesn't have a big mirror. So sometimes I would pull over if I'm by myself, and I'd have to ask my wife. That is my best improvement, is to be able to now turn my neck to see, to get into traffic. That's the thing I'm really thankful for, is that again, because I sit on the outside set, and if you're going to play very long in the NFL, you got to become a collision expert. You're looking for collisions. Our running back Franco, he's trying to avoid collisions. We're trying to look for collisions.
We're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Wow, you're looking for collisions.
Well, here's the point. The point is he's got greater range of motion, and that's again life in and of itself. And with that, he's able to keep functioning at a very high level, where a lot of times guys our age that have had as many years in the NFL, they're starting to suffer from all the maladies that accompany that amount of time in the NFL.
Well, and I'll tell you, Craig, the other reason that he's doing so well is because of his movement philosophy. So
Oh,
even after the NFL, he walks, he moves. He's probably just relubricated those knees over and over again because of his movement philosophy. So then you add X39 onto it. I mean, what's the highest mountain in the world? That's what you're going to be climbing pretty soon, aren't you, John?
I think that, again, I'm off the topic, but I think that's what we have to have the mindset is that you continue to move, you continue to find a new adventure, you continue to, once you stop doing that, without a vision, the people perish. So if we're not looking for what's the next adventure, we're going down.
I love your philosophy, and I know we have to get moving for a moment, but do we want to have each of your wives say one thing they like about the patches? I believe it was your wife that brought it to you, right, John? Who's the beginning of this? Was it Deborah or was it Faith? Who was the first one?
I think it was Deborah, and
she's still here. Deborah, where are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I just wanted to know, you're the one that found it. So tell me why did you bring the patches to John and what made you like them?
I found Robin and I heard her story. So, and mine was a lot with pride because I love how the stem cells rejuvenate. And I'm 71 and I need all the help I can get. And I shared it with Faith and she got excited. So we just started to roll with it.
Well, I have to say your skin looks great.
Oh, yes.
Are you talking about John?
No, I was talking about Deborah. Now
I've talked too much, but I got to tell you, Faith comes in and she teaches boxing combinations with a lot of our veterans, and we have a program with Light of Life Mission. And sometimes you don't want to do this, but sometimes I end up having to hold the punching bag for Faith. And she hurts my shoulders and she hits that thing. I mean, she knocks the stuffing out of it. So when I see Faith come in the mornings and she's going to teach, that's when I go, well, I got to go to the bathroom. And so somebody else ends up holding the bag.
Let me just say this. Whenever I tell the kids, I go, if mom gives you the side eye, put your hands up, cover up.
Well, it's Faith there, Faith. I have to ask you a question now. We all got to see you again. We got to see this woman, don't we?
Oh, please.
Here she comes. There she is. So we have a question. Why did you decide to start wearing the patches? And it sounds like you are very tough. And like, did you find that the patches helped you recover faster, helped you hit harder? I mean, helped you, like, why the patches for you?
I love the patches from the beginning, just reading about it. And like Craig said, the first thing I was attracted to was understanding the science behind it. And I dug in, I read the studies and I read patents and I read different things to learn about it. And we just, within the month, we knew things were working. I had some issues with plantar fasciitis and it had been going on chronically for a couple of years. And within a month and a half, 2 months, it was gone and it hasn't returned. And I had issues with some arthritis developing in my hands. And like you said, holding pads and punching, that really kind of takes a toll. And that is gone. I have had nothing for the last 5 months of that. So I saw immediate results in me. We used them with some of our older children, had a young son who's 21 that was losing his hair prematurely and it is growing back. And so we just saw so many results in our family. It's just, we can't help but tell people about it.
So are you telling me you're punching like a 20-year-old again?
Maybe not 20, but if I get close to 30, I'm doing good.
And everybody loves your stories.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you, Marcy.
Fun. So everybody has another question for all of you. They all want to know, what patches are you wearing?
Oh, what patches am I wearing? Well,
and they could be different. Which ones let's just go down the line. Craig, what are you wearing?
Oh, I got the X39, the 49. I alternate with carnosine and glutathione. I also like the Eon patch. Well, I've had energy patches, which, matter of fact, I had a speaking engagement just 2 weeks ago. Put those things on. I spoke for an hour and a half. It was so beneficial to be able to do that. You know what I mean? So the point being is there's a lot there and my favorite patch is always the next patch.
I love that. The favorite patch is always the next patch. And I don't know if Linda, if you could put this in, but Craig, think if I got this right, he likes X39, X49, Eon, Carnosine, Energy, and you said one other, glutathione
Glutathione, and I will also say the silent nights are terrific.
for sleeping.
Prior to that, I was sleeping at I would say out of each night at 5.5, 6.5 hours. Now it's more like 7.5 to 8. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. Thank you. John, which ones are you wearing?
So the main ones for me are the glutathione and the carnosine, and Deborah, and and the X39.
X39, glutathione, and carnosine. Yep.
I'm stumbling around here.
No,
Is
you're great.
because in the mornings, she'll go 12 hours on and 12 hours out, and my wife will not let me out of the house until she patches me up.
I
And
love that. I
and
love your wives. They need to do a show with me all by themselves, you guys. I'm just saying it has to be a woman show
Yeah.
next time. I'm just kidding. Okay, and John, what's Deborah wearing? What are her favorite patches? Do you want to tell us? You got to come back in for a minute, Deborah.
Okay.
What are your favorite patches?
I use them all except Silent Night.
Oh,
Wow, she uses them all.
I have so much energy. I love the energy.
What you love the energy. What are your 3 favorites?
I have to say X39. And when I found out X49, it was for the bones, for the
Yes.
osteoporosis,
Yes.
I started taking that.
Yeah.
Faith
So
and
you
Eon for the inflammation.
so you like your favorite, you wear them all. Deborah wears them all, guys. But her favorites are X39, X49,
And Eon.
and Eon. Oh, those are good patches. What about Faith? Faith, you're our last one. Then we have to move on. Where are you? Where's my
Right here.
MMA champion? Here she comes.
Behind you, John. I'd have to say the same as Deborah and John and Craig. I mean, the X39 and X49 are our go-tos.
Yep.
When we had a lot of the results in the very beginning, say 3 months, we were really just using the 39 and 49. We started incorporating a lot of the other patches in with Eon. And I don't usually wear the carnosine as much, but I definitely go to the Alavita and the Eon, X39 and X49.
So Faith added Alavita. You know, Alavita is for the skin. Deborah, you better start wearing Alavita between your eyebrows because you want your skin.
She forgot to tell you that one, but she wears it
She
too.
wears that one too. Good. Just
Close
check.
to 71.
Now, I have to say, you guys for being in your 70s look like you're in your like 40s or whatever. Like, I mean, this is insane. So I just want to thank all of you, John, Craig, Deborah, Faith, for coming on and sharing your stories.